For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble. Thanks for tuning in at thescribbleshow.com, SoundCloud, iTunes, all those fun podcast apps that you have that I've never heard of. Last week on the show we had David Archuleta, former American Idol star, and I gotta tell you, he has a lot of fans out there. He has some really, really dedicated, loyal fans, and I wanted to give a shout out to them because they totally blew up our downloads last week. So shout out to them. Thanks for the love. Thanks for the compliments. Glad you enjoyed the show. And I think we got a bunch of new subscribers. God, I sound like one of those desperate YouTube people. Don't forget to subscribe below. Remember, leave some comments. No, I don't know that I've done that very much. I've done it when they tell me, when my folks here in the room remind me to do that. But otherwise, you know what? If you like it, you know how to subscribe. If you know how to download a podcast, you know how to subscribe to one. I just think that that's the logic. So if you like what you hear and you want to hear more of it, then you're going to do it. I give people the benefit of the doubt that they're not completely useless when it comes to technology, especially if they're listening to a podcast. So on that positive note, we've got a lot to talk about today. We have another celebrity guest who will be joining us, Michele Romanow from CBC's Dragon's Den. That's the Canadian version of Shark Tank, in a sense, just with less money because of the currency exchange rate. But Michele has been on the show for a few seasons now, and it'll be great to have her insight into the business world. And then also, I always have to know how often she's approached with business deals, right? Because once you're on a show like that, I don't think that you can go anywhere without somebody stopping you, asking advice, asking you, or wanting you to invest in something. And so I don't know that, it's a good thing that people recognize you and know who you are and trust you, but basically they want your money. But yeah, and I think it's actually probably worse than being just a celebrity because, celebrity people are going to want a selfie or a, autograph, and then that's it. Right? Then that's it. You're kind of done. We're over. You got people wanting full-on conversations with these dragons, and pitching them business dealings and things like that. So, anyway, so Michele Romanow is coming up a little bit later in the show, and I had a very, very fun night with my grandma, my mom, my cousin, and my aunt at a barn dance. My grandma has been in a home for several months now, and this is apparently an annual event at the home, so the first time that she has gone to it, I'm going to tell you about the rip-roaring, boot-scootin' boogie good time. And I host a country music show at the same time. Isn't that sad that my country references aren't that great? And speaking of country and country music, the Oak Ridge Boys will be joining us on the show, is it next week or 2 weeks from now? We actually taped the interview on Halloween, so I know for a fact they're going to be on the podcast. I just don't know the exact date. So stay tuned for that. Speaking of country music, just thought of that. We're going to kick things off right after this break with the hootenanny that I was at, the barn dance with my grandma, right here on The Scribble.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched? And who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap-Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
JB here on The Scribble. I almost want, should we call it the Scrib for short? Is that cool? Not cool? The Scrib. You listen to JB on the Scrib. Anyway, on Tuesday night, I had a really fun time. Last weekend, I was hanging out with my mom for a little bit. We were walking my dogs, and she mentioned to me that at my grandma's home, and again, we're Ukrainian and Polish, so our grandma is called Baba. At Baba's home, there was going to be a barn dance, and so my mom was kind of laughing at it. She and my aunt were going to go. And I said, well, I'll come, whatever. My grandma's home is not that far from my house. In all honesty, I have walked there with my dogs. It's taken about 25 minutes, so it's fairly close by. And she lives, well, her house, which actually, here, and I'm going to sort of go off the story and then I'll come back to it. Her house is sort of in the same neighborhood as mine and my parents and one of my brothers. And the shitty thing was, I can say shitty because we're on the podcast. Shitty thing was that somebody actually broke into her house last night. My mom texted me and she said that somebody broke into Baba's garage and house. Now, the good thing about all this is where you put a positive spin, is that, I mean, she's a 93-year-old woman. So she doesn't have, big flat screen TV and big computer, laptop, iPad, iPhone. She, I'm not kidding you, has the green couch, the green flowered couch, Chesterfield as she calls it, and Ukrainian eggs on a shelf, and the TV that's, that weighs 400 pounds. And so my mom actually said, like, really, they went upstairs to her bedroom, opened a bunch of drawers, probably realized, most of the clothing and everything is gone now because she's not there. This is an old person's house. It's a very dated house. But I'm not knocking it. It worked, my grandpa died 11 years ago, but, they lived in it for 60-some years. It was fine for them. It was home. That's what they knew. So, but somebody new coming in, a burglar, is going to be like, oh, my God. And so from what it looks like, I haven't gone to the house. I haven't been to the scene of the crime. My mom was telling me, though, that nothing really was gone. The drawers were open in the bedroom, and the closet was open, but that was really about it. I said, so they didn't smash anything just out of aggravation that they didn't get anything? She said no, but when we were there with the police, her and my uncle had gone there. My mom and my uncle went. She said, we noticed that on that little, that rack where you have a bunch of knives, you can get that set of 6 or 8 knives, whatever. She said there were only 3 of them there, and it was the smaller ones that were left. So basically, there's some very big knives that are now on the streets of Winnipeg. So that's a little bit concerning. Now, anyway, let's get to the positive story. Let's rewind to Tuesday night where we had a good time. So my mom told me about this barn dance, and I said, oh, I'll go. And she thought I was joking, and I said, no, I've got no problem going. I mean, I'm a good sport. It's going to be a good time with my grandma, who I know has had some, she's had a tough go at the transition from being independent, being in her own house, and she's got, early dementia. So there's times when she thinks that my grandpa is still around, and then there's times when she knows that he's not, and she has, some crying moments. And so I thought, well, this would be really fun, because what I'll do is I'll show up. I have a cowboy outfit from when we did our radio shows in Houston a few years ago. We did a segment. Actually, I think we probably actually played it on the podcast. We went to a clothing store, so where they have authentic cowboy boots, hats, shirts, all they do custom made things as well. And during the segment, the owner of the store had said to me, would you wear that out? And I said, yeah, I mean, why not? In Houston, I mean, when in Texas. And so I did. I actually had a dinner with the tourism board that night. And so, of course, I show up and they're like, wow, you're really playing the part while you're here. And I said, no, I think it's pretty cool. And so I said, I still have this at home. I'll show up and get some laughs, right? It'll be kind of a fun thing. Here's your grandson showing up fully dressed as a cowboy. And I'm not joking. I was actually looking forward to it for the few days that I knew about it, because again, why not have a silly moment, And so my mom said, apparently there's a live band, I don't know. And remember, this is a home where they call them residents. I don't want to call them patients. It's not a hospital. It's not a, I guess it's a nursing home of sorts. But these are not people who are on life support. It's not, they have dementia, and they're they need protection. They need to be locked so that they don't wander around, right? It's for their safety. And so at 93 years old, my grandma, is slowing down a little bit. And I thought, okay, here we go. We get to this barn dance. And sure enough, we round the corner and we come into the hall where everybody is. Almost all of the residents have different kinds of cowboy hats on. Some of them are wearing jeans and flannel. The staff is all dressed up. So here I am thinking that I'm going to make a splash and I'm going to, stand out and be a scene and, a photo op and, people are going to want to do pictures with me because I'm silly and goofy and over the top. I fit right in. I'm not kidding you. I played the part and I was like, okay, so I'm not overdressed and I'm not being silly. This is actually what they're doing. But I have to admit, it was such a fun time. And so we were there. I don't know that my grandma knew that we were coming there, but again, with the dementia, I don't know that she necessarily remembered. And so she was just sitting at a table with a whole bunch of other people. There was no room for us. So we kind of snagged her away from her friends and we went to another table because now there's 4 of us, right? 5 of us. My cousin ended up showing up a little bit later. And we sat there, the band started playing polkas and waltzes, and within the first waltz or polka, whatever it was, I said, okay, do you want to dance? And I didn't think that she would, because there's times when she just kind of has these depressed moments and just wants to be left alone and doesn't want anybody talking to her. But she was kind of into it. And so here we go, we get up and we dance. Now, if you go onto my Twitter, at Jeremy D. Bradley, and just scroll back to Tuesday, you will see some of the pictures from the night. We had a really good time. And then all of a sudden my mom and my aunt are getting in on the fun too, that they're wanting to dance with my grandma, and then they're wanting to dance with me. And so suddenly our whole group is now on the dance floor, and we've got people that are in wheelchairs and have walkers, and they're getting up and they're dancing. There was this one woman, cute as can be, had her walker and was kind of sort of lifting it up and stomping it on the ground kind of a thing to the music. And they were having a good time. And, my aunt who goes there, my aunt is retired, so she goes there a few days a week. Even she said, I don't think that I've seen these people, smiling and this happy before. It's kind of, this is a really good thing for them. It was really fun. It was really unique. And not that they're depressed, and miserable on a day-to-day basis, but this was just a really fun night for them. And, there was beer and wine, and they had a lunch kind of thing with sandwich meat and, cheese and bread and pickles and punch. And it was just kind of, it was just a nice night. I mean, and then it was done by 8:30, so it wasn't a late night for me. Actually, no, I had to go and do our radio shows after, so I couldn't be, I was a little bit tipsy. If you, depending on when you're listening to this, if you go to our entertainmentwrapup.com website and you click on Wednesday, I think you'll hear sort of the drunky kind of segment that I did on Wednesday. So that one's going to go down in history, I know. I know we're going to make a record of that one. So anyway, so I had a great time at the barn dance. The staff was really good. The entertainment was good. And then at the end, the staff has the people in the wheelchairs literally spinning on the dance floor, and everyone had a good time. So this is one of those moments where you kind of go into it going, okay, I'm going to go just because I can laugh my ass off. This is going to be really funny. It was genuinely fun. I had a really good time. So I encourage you, if you, I don't like to tell people what to do, but if you ever have the opportunity to, volunteer at a home like that, or, just get involved in the community with older people, it was just really nice. And then there's other people that I didn't even know, other grandmas, I would assume, that their family didn't come, or you could see they're tapping their feet. And I mean, I don't know people's limitations about mobility and things like that, so I'm not going to go and grab this woman and fling her onto the dance floor. But there's some they would sit in their seat and you kind of just swing your hand, you hold their hand and you swing it. They were just wanting to get involved and just wanting to have a good time. So I was happy to oblige. I had a good time at the barn dance in Winnipeg on Tuesday. So we're going to take a break. When we come back, Michele Romanow from CBC's Dragon's Den will be joining us right here on The Scribble.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate, at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate, at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
Michele Romanow from Dragon's Den is joining us on the line to talk business and, of course, the hit CBC show. Hi, Michele.
Hi, it's great to be here.
Well, thanks for joining us. First off, I have to ask, how often is your name misspelled?
Oh, all the time. I mean, my parents forgot the second L in Michelle. I'm like, guys, this is too much. I actually have a funny story about this. So,
okay.
You know how everyone's texting these days, I get this text message from my dad, of all people, who is like, Michelle, and he misspelled my name incorrectly. And I was like, Dad, you gave me this name. Like, you can't do this. But I realized that everyone is voice dictating into their phone now, and so that's why it was misspelled.
Okay, all right. And secondly, now, I've asked everyone that we've had on the show, from Manjeet to Kevin O'Leary, Robert Herjavec, Barbara Corcoran, how often are you approached with business ideas? Can you go anywhere without anybody stopping you?
Oh, no, I get pitched everywhere. I get pitched in bathroom stalls. I get pitched on airplanes. It doesn't matter. But I love it. I mean, I love building and investing in businesses, so I never have a problem with hearing people's ideas.
Are some of them, actually legitimate? Have you ever sort of done a deal or pursued something when approached?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I get lots of, great ideas that I've heard from random places. So, no, you can source great deals from anywhere. I'm certainly not biased to that.
Well, I'll shoot you an email after this then, okay? No.
Sounds good.
This is a really cool season of Dragon's Den. You've got some special episodes coming up, and I always love when family businesses come on and pitch. And it's great seeing parents encourage their children to get into business. But what are your thoughts on working with a family? I don't know that I could do it, but what do you think?
Your co-founders always become your family, inevitably. And so, I had a co-founder for 10 years who's my closest friend. I now work today with my life partner, Andrew, and so I'm in business with my partner. It inevitably, you just spend so much time with these people. It's actually kind of amazing to do business with people you love. That being said, you have to figure out a couple of different things, and probably the biggest thing is how to spend time apart, because inevitably, if you're in a relationship as a couple, you need to plan date night and you need to plan time together. On the other hand, when we spend all of our time together, we actually need to do the reverse, where we need to plan to spend at least a little bit of time apart, but we actually just get sick of each other.
Right. Well, there you go. And you can't quit family. That's the thing, too, right?
You cannot quit family. But I've seen lots of successful businesses built by siblings, built multi-generationally. So this is always one of my, favorite episodes of the season.
Would you say there is an age limit? Because I almost worry that it would be like kids getting into sports. As soon as the parents make it too serious, then it's not fun for the kids. So in this regard, being part of the family business venture, is there a certain age where you think it's okay to start grooming the kid? Maybe they're just kind of watching from the sidelines at the beginning and then helping out every once in a while? What would be your recommendation?
I don't think there's any hard and fast rules for when the right time is. I mean, I've seen, I think teaching kids about business really early, not in a strenuous way, but, making them kind of clean up and stock shelves and figure out how a product is made and run around. I remember spending a lot of time, in the office with my dad on the weekend, and just kind of, learning how to play business. So I think it's really not about being strenuous, but teaching kids about that early is pretty amazing.
What industries are you not seeing enough of on Dragon's Den? One that comes to mind is agriculture. Is that still fairly represented? I often worry about the family farms.
Yeah, I think that farming has become much more larger in scale, and so we've lost a lot of that magic around family farms. We haven't seen enough of those, but we are seeing some creativity from lots of different pitches. I can remember, these sisters from Saskatchewan a few seasons ago who had come up with, different chickpea products, and they had grown up on a special type of farm, and they had figured out how to, make the products more valuable. And it's one of, the incredible things is that we have to not just produce the products as an agriculture business in Canada, but actually bring them to their finished CPG kind of product. And we haven't done enough of that historically. And so I think we're starting to see a lot more pitchers that are not just talking about, producing the raw goods, but actually bringing them to their kind of full state. So I think there was one this season on bison, jerky. Like, there's a couple of really cool ones we've seen from the farm.
What are your thoughts on people coming in, and when they do their pitch, they say that, a certain percentage of our profits or whatever are going to charity? I appreciate that. I applaud them for doing that. But do you think that they're almost doing that just to get that public, that good PR image?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's something about doing a good business and treating your people and your producers right that's just good for business. And so certainly that there has been social enterprises that have done really well, but if not done in a genuine way, it does and can feel a little bit gimmicky. And so I always encourage businesses to focus on like a single cause, something that's really aligned with their mission, and make that. I mean, at Clearbank, like, we exist, by founders, for founders. We want to be, the most affordable form of growth capital. And so the charities that we support are all, is actually RISE, the charity that helps people with mental health start a business. And so it's very, very aligned with, not something we spend a lot of time advertising, but I think it makes a lot of sense with our mission.
Is there a type of business you won't invest in? We've seen some dragons take a stand against, guns or drug companies, also because it reflects on their other businesses. But is anything off limits for you?
I like businesses where you can build online and technology scale. So when you don't have to worry about, are you in 20 stores and 100 stores and, 1,500 stores? Like, it's like, okay, can we get the whole world to know about this product right away? Mm-hmm. So, that's not generally frozen or perishable products. And that's stuff that is a little bit borderless. But no, I've been really creative in terms of all industries, and I like to have rules, because I think, if you have rules, you should be breaking them anyways, because that's what, businesses are changing. Again, a couple of years ago, cannabis wasn't an industry, and today it's a massive part, it's a massive industry in Canada.
You mentioned that business is changing. Do you find that these days education, and I don't know if I'm going to ask this the right way, is a formal business education as important as having the drive to go into business? Obviously, we've seen people marketing themselves on social media and making a business out of that. What are your thoughts on a formal business education nowadays?
I think that you really need, a GSD. I call it, the Get Shit Done degree. And that is way more valuable than a formal business education. And so, I did an MBA. I don't think it was the most valuable thing I did. I think engineering was way more valuable. If you're just going to take school for one thing, I would do it for science and engineering versus business, because you can learn a lot. Some of the best entrepreneurs I've met, graduated high school. And so it's really much more about being clever and being determined and just being so resilient versus having a formal business education.
And one of the best ways to learn is from mistakes that either we've made or that we've seen others make. Can you give maybe one or two biggies that you've experienced and encountered that have stuck with you and made you grow as a business person?
Oh my gosh, I've made countless mistakes. We had to try so many different businesses until we got something that worked. And so, I remember even when we were running Bytopia, we were running tons of little experiments. We built a whole competitor to Uber Eats, couldn't make that work. A whole competitor to the software scheduling industry, couldn't make that work. But it was actually through trying 3 or 4 things that didn't work that led to our big innovation behind SnapSaves, which ended up being the company that was acquired by Groupon. And so every one of those, you have to put a project forward see what's not. There's always a little part that is working. So you take the little part that's working, you double down on that, and you kind of get rid of everything else. And that's been the process largely of creating big innovations in this world. I mean, people forget that. Airbnb didn't start out as the largest hotel chain in the world. They started out, thinking that they could rent a place at a stranger's house when conference hotels were sold out. And so there is, never underestimate the fact that a little failure can put you a long way.
I know the Dragons are always asked, what's the best deal you ever made on the show, the worst deal you ever made? What's the one deal that either got away because the entrepreneur walked away or maybe another Dragon got it?
Oh, I always call that the game of like shoulda, coulda, woulda. Mm-hmm. And we can all play that game in our lives, and it always ends in one thing, which is depression. Yeah. There's, countless opportunities I've missed from, buying pre-IPO Facebook shares to like tons of different things. I can actually remember one business on the show. I'm not even sure this one went to air, but the guy had created a new type of bacteria to make sure that perishable meat products had a longer shelf life. And he was a food scientist, and I just thought it was such a cool pitch. But he was kind of one that I think about, and I wonder about how that business did today.
Okay, and finally, I have to have a fun question in here. It's Saturday night, hockey night in Canada. Maybe you're watching it, let's say, at Boston Pizza. Which Dragon are you calling to come and have a drink with you? And you can't say Jim just because it'll be comped.
Oh my gosh, I love it's like children. I love my co-stars equally. But, I probably saw Vince most recently, and he's a riot to hang out with, so I'd invite Mr. Guzzo over with me.
All right, well, we're going to be watching Dragon's Den on CBC. Michelle, when can we catch the show?
Yeah, Thursdays at 9 o'clock.
All right, Michele Romanow, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
It's never too early to start thinking about your next holiday. Have you checked out Mexico recently? From tequila tasting, swimming with horses, to ziplining through the jungle and watching whales and dolphins in their natural habitat, Puerto Vallarta has it all. Visit mexico.jbonair.com to see all the fun PV has to offer. That's at mexico.jbonair.com for hundreds of photos, interviews, and videos from around the tourist hotspot. Check out mexico.jbonair.com for all the fun. That's mexico.jbonair.com.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here, back on The Scribble. In our final remaining moments, we've got about 2 minutes left. As you're listening to this, again, if you're listening to it over the weekend, one, I hope you had a great Halloween on Thursday, and two, if you are in the Palm Springs area and you're listening to this over the November, first, second, third weekend, come to Palm Springs Pride and say hello. I will be at the Happy Bulge Swim Company booth, and that's one of our business ventures that we launched in April in Phoenix, and I will be there hawking some goods, and I would love to meet you. So I think it would be very cool if you're in the Palm Springs area and you're listening to this right now, if you came and said hi. And believe it or not, this has actually happened with the radio shows that we have, our syndicated radio shows. I'm on the air in Scottsdale, Arizona, and so when we were at Phoenix Pride in April, I believe it was, we actually had a couple people who came over from Scottsdale, which sort of is, not that far away. They actually did come and say hi, which was kind of cool. So I got to meet people who had listened to me on the radio for like 10 years. And so it was kind of fun to do that. So Again, if you're at Palm Springs Pride, look for the Happy Bulge Swim Company booth, and you'll see Jeremy Bradley there. Oh, God, I'm talking like Donald Trump now. You'll see me there, okay? I'm not talking in the third person. All right. Feel free to give me a shout anytime. It's always awesome hearing from you. My email address is live@jbonair.com. Live@jbonair.com. Coming up next week on the show, I don't know if we have... I'm confused. We either have the Oak Ridge Boys or we have Michael Fishman from the Connors. One of them, maybe both of them, I don't know. But I hope you'll join me then. Remember to subscribe to this podcast, show your love, tell people about it. The more the merrier. And again, if you do see me out, come and say hi. I will talk to you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.
If you want some real heat